Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 26 books that I want to read in 2026. So it is actually February, it's the 10th right now, but I'm just getting around to filming this video. So there is a couple books on this list I have already read, so I will let you guys know which ones those are, but I didn't want to not include them in this video because it was on my TBR for this year. Now, I wasn't going to do the whole 2026 books in 2026 because I didn't think I'd have that many books that I specifically wanted to read this year. However, there is so many books that I want to read. I have a lot of physical books that I want to read. I have a lot of like Kindle Unlimited books or books on my Kindle. There's also loads of books that I would like to purchase this year. And so I like to ask for books like for my birthday or, you know, other occasions throughout the year. And so I think at some point I will do a bookish vlog where I go book shopping and just do like bookish things, but that realistically isn't something I'm going to do until I have moved and unpacked and everything, which I don't know when that's going to be, but I am limiting the amount of books I am buying and accumulating at the moment. There's one book that I will allow myself to buy if I find it, and it's the works edition of Nightshade, because I didn't realise that that wasn't the normal cover when I saw it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And at that point I was like, no, I'm not gonna like impulse buy. Just made my face really red, but I'm not gonna impulse buy it. I will get it another time, and then it just disappeared. I haven't seen it, and I'm hoping that like the next time I go to one of the works that is not like one of my local ones, hopefully they'll have it. And then if they don't have it then, I'm praying they have it when Daybreak, which is the second book, comes out, because I imagine the works would do the same thing, and obviously they'll know that people who are new to the series will want both books in like matching covers. So anyway, ramble over. There's a lot of books that I want to read this year. My goal for this year is 35, so I still have like free reign for some books, but I will most likely read more than that anyway. I feel like it's achievable, but I still will have to make sure that I'm prioritising reading over like scrolling and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna start with a few I can never say this word, honorary. I'm going to start with a few honorary mentions. These are books that I would like to read this year, but if I don't read them this year, I'm not going to be really upset about it, purely just because there are other books I specifically want to read this year. These ones I'm kind of excited for, and I think when I make my TBR jar, these will be some of the books that like would have prompts, or I'll write these titles in it, because it kind of just seems like it will be a book that I don't typically lean towards. I feel like it can be really hard sometimes to pick up books that you don't really hear anyone talk about, or that don't have that much hype, because I feel like for me sometimes I'm like, okay, well what if I don't like it because I don't really know anyone who's like these books. Well, there is just one of them that I've never heard anyone talk about, and I am planning on doing a like reading vlog where I specifically read books that I haven't heard anyone talk about, because one, it gets me out of my comfort zone, and two, it can be really nice to find like a hidden gem. I feel like before BookTube and BookTok got really big, I used to mainly read books that I'd never really heard much about, and so I do want to get back into that a little bit more. So the one that applies to the most is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. I've had this for probably about 2, maybe even 3 years, which sounds crazy, and I was really excited to pick this up when I first bought it, but it's just sadly gotten pushed back more and more, like throughout the years. I'm not going to go into what each book is about in this video. I will save that for the reading vlogs, or if I talk about them in a reading wrap up, which I think I'm going to do sort of like a quarterly reading wrap up, because I don't read enough books a month to feel like it's worth doing a monthly reading wrap up. I also do read a lot for specific videos, and so they already kind of have a video about them. So hopefully you will see me talk about all these books throughout this year, but we will see. Anyway, some of these books I am planning on reading in reading vlogs, and some of them, you know, at some point I'll talk about them if I enjoy them. And then the next book, I have heard one person talk about this, and it did make me want to read this more. I picked this up not last year, but the end of the year before, in like a New Year's sale from the works, well, at the works, and so I literally got it for £1. And I have quite a few books by these authors, but I haven't read either of them yet. I think I've got 3 books now by this author. Haven't read any of them, and that is Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren. So I have got Autobiography, which is the first book I got by these authors, and I remember being so excited to read it, and I just never got round to it. And then I also have, I think it's The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. Again, I mean, I wasn't like, oh my god, I can't wait to read it, but I was excited to read it, hence why I bought it. This is a Tangled retelling, and Tangled is indeed my favourite Disney film. So I'm very excited for this. I've got an eyelash in my eye now. Yeah, so I spoke to someone, her name is Alice, on TikTok that I follow, and she'd read this and she really enjoyed it from what I can remember. And so I have heard one person talk about this and they had a good review, so it's made me a bit more excited. I think all of the other ones on the back are also fairy tale retellings that are all part of the same series, but it's different authors for each book, which can be really interesting. So the last book, and it's not one specific book, but it is just a book by Emily Henry. So I would like to reread Book Lovers this year, because I didn't finish it the first time I read it. I think I got about halfway. I just wasn't really feeling it at that moment, so I put it down and then I packed it, and I don't have access to it right now. However, once I move, I would like to read it. I also have People We Meet on Vacation, or You and Me on Vacation, I think it's called. Whatever like the UK title is, I do also have that, but I think I'm leaning towards picking up Funny Story or Happy Place more. I also really like the sound of A Great Big Beautiful Life, so you know, I feel like I do want to read any of them this year. I think Funny Story sounds the most interesting to me. I'm not a massive Emily Henry girl. Like, I know she is one of the most like raved about authors on like bookish spaces online, and so I feel like not behind, but I'm just kind of like, okay, I need to like read these and, you know, figure out what it's about, and whether, you know, the hype is justified or whether I just have a different opinion to everyone else. But I read Beach Read and I did enjoy it, but it wasn't my favourite book. And so I would like to read an Emily Henry book this year, specifically like one of her, like either Funny Story, Happy Place or A Great Big Beautiful Life, as well as Book Lovers. I do have on my book bingo for this year to finish a soft DNF, and I think that will be Book Lovers. So I haven't really DNF'd that many books that I know I would like want to go back and try and read it again, but Book Lovers is the one that stands out to me for that. The next ones I'm going to talk about are the 4 books that I've either read or I'm currently reading. So the first one, and this is one that I have already read, I started off the year with this, got it for Christmas, so if you watched my like Christmas video and book hauls and stuff, you will know that I got this book and I had to start reading it straight away, and that is Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about my thoughts on it really. I did include this in a reading vlog that will be up either next month or the month after. Yeah, probably like March or maybe April. So I'm not going to talk about my thoughts on it, but this was one of my most anticipated reads for this year. So I'm very excited that I have knocked it out the park already. And then the next one is The Academy by Ellen Hildebrand and Shelby Cunningham. Sorry, I could not remember her name for a second there. This is just another one that I have already read. And then the next 2 are my current reads. So the first one is Mile High by Liz Tomfordy. Like, this is my current read. I'm kind of going between this and the book that I'm about to show you because I like to have a Kindle read pretty much at all times because it's easier for me to read on Kindle. It also means I can listen to it, and so that just means I get to read and experience more books and more worlds and more stories and stuff, is having something I can listen to and pick up at more times compared to just having a physical book. So that is kind of just what works for me, and the amount of books I read each year has probably like doubled since I got a Kindle, so it's been amazing. I would highly recommend. But the physical book that I'm reading alongside that, and this is also going to be in the same book that in the same video that Beartown is in, and that is Warrior Princess Assassin by Bridget Kemmerer. I love this book. This like cover so much. Like, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I did an unboxing in not my last video, the video before, my like Christmas video, and I generally can't believe I'm holding this in my hands. Like, I put this in a Pinterest board to put on my vision board for 2026, and before I'd even made the vision board I was holding this in my hands, so I was like, perfect. So like I said, I'm not going into my thoughts on it, but if you can't tell, I am pretty happy that I'm reading this and reading it on so early in the year as well. That is the books that I hope I read this year, but it's not a must. And then books I've already read that are on this list / current reads, and that takes us into the rest of the books. So I'm gonna do the physical copies first, and then I'm gonna go in and talk about the books that I'm planning on reading, either that I want to read on my Kindle or ones that I'm yet to purchase. So these aren't in a particular order, but the first one we have is Voice of the Ocean by Kelsey Impiche. Yeah. So the first one we have is Voice of the Ocean. I put on my 2026 TBR. A lot of these books are things that are going to tick off my 2026 book bingo. It's kind of like a strategic trying to get everything and all this and that checked off, because that is satisfying to me and it helps me like motivate me to read books and things that I might not necessarily read as well. So I wanted to read 3 romantic fantasies this year, and this is a romantic fantasy. At least I believe it is. I think so. You know, a prince rescues her, so you know what's gonna happen from there on. I got this for my birthday. It came out literally like the day before my birthday, I believe, last year, and I haven't read it yet. And I'm kind of like, why have you not read it yet? Because I was so excited to read it. And this is the other reason why I've made a book bingo with books in mind that I've been wanting to read for a while, because it just gives me that extra push to do it, because I feel like sometimes I'm like, no, like I'm really excited to read it, but I don't want to be let down by it, so I'm just not gonna read it. I used to watch Kelsey, she's a YouTuber, content creator. I used to watch her videos, and then I saw this and I'm like, I recognise that name, and I clicked and I was like, oh my god, she's written a book. So this is a little bit more out of my comfort zone, but that is something that I really want to focus on reading this year, is books that are out of my general comfort zone. And there is definitely a few books on my list and in this list, and then just other books I have in mind that aren't specifically on my TBR for this year, but it would be nice if I got to them. So yeah, the next book I have, so I either can read this one or another one that I'll say in a second, and it count to check this off of my 2026 TBR, because pretty sure I have the other book, I just don't have access to it right now. But I looked on Amazon and it is on Kindle Unlimited right now. So even if I don't actually have the physical copy, I can still read it. I don't have to go and buy it, and I'm pretty sure I do have it. Like I said, I think I bought it when I bought this book that I'm going to show you, and also that was the same time when I bought Tangled Up in You. So I'm pretty sure I have it, but it's nice to have it on my Kindle anyway. I've started to see a lot of people talk about one of these books a lot recently, like a lot, but specifically about the 3rd book in that series that has just come out or recently come out, and now everyone is talking about it, and I have massive FOMO, because if I just picked it up, the 1st book up when I bought it, or within a few months of when I bought it, I would have gotten the bandwagon early. Like I'd already have read that book, and I could start reading the 3rd one in the series that everyone is raving about. So my 2 options for this like thing on my 2026 TBR is Rootbound or Savour It, both by Tara DeWitt. This is, I believe, like cowboy ranchy romance, and Savour It, I think, I don't actually exactly remember, like I have an idea in my head, but I don't want to, you know, put the wrong one out there and like mislead people. But I believe the other one is a small town romance. It might also be like country vibes. But the thing that I like the idea of Tara DeWitt's books is that they are older characters. Now I'm almost 23. I'm still very much young, but I have enjoyed when I've read about characters that are more in their like mid to late 20s, because I don't know, I feel like as much as I love reading college and like, and when I say college I mean like university, but it's American university, so like college, university and like high school stuff, I'm kind of leaning more out of the high school at the moment. I think like, why don't I read more books of older characters and older romances, because I don't know, I just feel like it, not that it makes me feel older and more mature and more like adult, but it kind of does in a way. Like sometimes I feel like I'm so young and I don't have my life together, and so reading books with older characters who are going through, you know, complex situations or whatever it is, I'm just like, okay, like it's fine. Like it's like when people say like in the 1st season of Friends the characters are 26 and, you know, they don't have their lives together. It's just kind of like, I like reading that about having older characters, and I want to do more of that. So I'm leaning towards reading Savour It over Rootbound, even though I have Rootbound right here in my hands. But when I was reading through the blurb for this the other day, I am excited for this. And this is the thing, like, I'm excited for all of these books. That's why I have bought or asked for all of these books. But it can just be daunting sometimes going into books and new authors, and I think most of these are new authors for me. So yeah, I've also heard no one talk about this, and again, even though I said I like the idea of finding a hidden gem, I feel apprehensive reading a book that I haven't heard anyone talk about. So yeah, I'm also leaning more towards Savour It because I want to read the third book. I believe it's Left of Forever, and that is the one that everyone's raving about the most right now. I really want to read it, but obviously that's the third book, and I do want to read that. I think it's an interconnected standalone series, so I could technically read it out of order, but I'm not going to. The next book is one that I need to pick up because, again, this is the first book in an interconnected standalone series. And the book that I'm most excited for, once again, is the third book in this series. And that is the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. I have been wanting to read Just for the Summer for the longest time, literally since it came out. The idea of this has been so intriguing to me that I just realised I probably had my eyes closed for the longest amount of time then. But I've been so excited to pick this up. However, before I can read this, I need to read these. So yeah, I'm also quite excited for this one, but the book that is specifically on my TBR for this year is Part of Your World. That is like, as long as I read this year, it's fine. Do you know what I mean? I would love to read and complete the whole series this year, as well as I feel like so many people rave about Abby Jimenez's writing. Everyone just seems to love her and love her writing, and so I need to pick this up. And I also believe that some of them are doctors. Yeah, two of the main characters, like one in each book, are doctors. And I'm pretty sure I've heard some people say, like, if you like Grey's Anatomy, you should read these because they're like kind of Grey's Anatomy kind of vibes, but like rom-coms. And I am a Grey's Anatomy stan. I couldn't tell you what's going on in the recent seasons because since certain events of what happened, I am too sad to watch it because all my favourite characters are gone. So yeah, although I have seen a lot of spoilers recently, I would love to read Just for the Summer this summer. The next book is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. At first, when everyone started talking about this, I was like, I'm not interested. However, since then, I have become interested, more so in the last like 6 months-ish. So I got this for Christmas and I'm very excited for this. And then the next book, again, I'm also very excited for. And I feel like I'm just going to say that about every book, but these are the books that I'm specifically most excited to read, hence why they are on my TBR for this year. So I do mean it when I say it, and that is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. I have been wanting to read this for years. Have I read it yet? No, I've literally probably wanted to read this for like 4... In my head it's 4 years. When did this even come out? 2022. Yeah, so it did come out 4 years ago, but I don't know when. So we'll say like 3.5 years. I've been wanting to read this. Again, haven't picked it up. The next book is kind of 2 books, but similar to the Abby Jimenez series, is as long as I read the first book out of these, I'm happy. I can check that off my TBR for the year. But if I could read both of these, that would be awesome. And that is Spiral and Revolve, both by Bao Cabra. I am so excited for this. So excited. But I'm also really excited for this one. I did enjoy Collide, which is the first book in this series. This is book 2, this is book 3. Book 4, Embrace, comes out later on this year. So again, it would be good if I could read both of these before that comes out, and then, you know, new release. The next book is, again, one that I have had for a while. I've had this for over a year now. Have I read it? No. Was I so excited I went to pick it up literally the morning it got released? Yes. That is Out the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. This is the second book in a duet, and again, this is 2 older characters, and so I'm also excited to read it in that sense, but also I've met these characters before, so I'm excited about that. And then we're gonna get on to the books that I do not have physically or at all. Sorry if I keep moving, it is just because I'm uncomfortable, but there isn't really anywhere else for me to film right now where the lighting is somewhat decent and there is a somewhat decent background, and I can set up the camera because the camera was just kept falling everywhere. We've done Bear Town, The Inheritance Games, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Spiral, Out the Woods, Root Bound or Savour It, Voice of the Ocean, Warrior Princess Assassin. So next we have one by Emery Lord. I have got, I think, 2 books left by this author that I started reading when I got back into reading when I was sort of like 14. There was not ages, but a few years where I didn't really read much. And then I picked up The Start of Me and You around the same time as a couple other books, and those like 3 books are the ones that got me back into reading. And so whilst these books are like YA, it would be nice to read it and just feel nostalgic. And then we have Not My Type. This, I believe from memory, was a book I found on Instagram. I had like a post come up that someone had made, and it was like books that included characters with disabilities, and then it would like, it categorized it into certain disabilities. So this was in like the wheelchair user category. I myself am a wheelchair user, and I do enjoy reading books with disabled characters. And then the next off we have the first book in the DC Star series, and that is Face Off by Chelsea Curto, I believe. And again, this is another ice hockey series. I believe this one might be older characters though, and again, I know there is actually, I think it's the 4th book in this series, like 3rd or 4th, where there's a character who is an amputee, and again, disabled characters. And so that is another reason why I wanted to pick up this series. The next one we have is Consider Me. Again, another ice hockey romance series, I believe. I will spread these out throughout the year most likely. They're very common on Kindle Unlimited. I feel like, at least in my opinion, there is quite a few books on my list of Kindle Unlimited books that are ice hockey books. The next book we have, this book is another one that I have been wanting to read for years. When I, again, first started getting back into reading, I'd made my Goodreads account and I had added books I want to read, and I need to go back and read those books. And I think that's something again that I'll do for another video, is going through books that have been on my TBR for the longest time, because this book is called 13 by, I think it's Steve Kavanagh. This book is so intriguing to me. I do love romance, I do love a little bit of romantic fantasy, I do love general fiction, I also do love thrillers and mysteries, and so this one I believe is a thriller. Very intriguing to me. And this year is the year that I finally read it. I've actually already bought it on my Kindle, so like I have to read it. The next one we have is Reckless by Elsie Silver. I've been reading the Chestnut Springs series for a little while now, and I love this series. I've also, in the time that I started reading the Chestnut Springs series, I have read all of the Rose Hill series, but for some reason I've just been spreading out the Chestnut Springs series. I think the difference is that Chestnut Springs had already been finished when I started reading the series, whereas the Rose Hill series was being published as I was reading it. So I wanted to read it like upon publication. So yeah, Reckless, I would like to read it. I would ideally like to finish this series this year, but I don't know. Part of me is kind of holding on and reading it slowly because I don't want it to end. But Elsie Silver is releasing more books this year. I also haven't read the Gold Rush Ranch series, which I believe is her first series. Is there another one other than that? I don't think there is. Speaking of other series, the other book that I want to read by her this year is Fever Dream, which comes out on May 19th. I will most likely read this the day it comes out. Like, I would, in an ideal world, I'll start it the day it comes out. Which is another reason why I would like to finish the Chestnut Spring series this year, is because I know that Elsie Silver is releasing another series, so I don't need to hold on so tight to the Chestnut Spring series. And then the next one is A Discovery of Witches. I think this is by Deborah Harkness. I made the mistake of looking at it in the shop. It is massive. It's massive, and it is a type of book that I don't really read. So yeah, I am very much intimidated, and it just feels a bit daunting. So yeah, I would love to read this year. One of my good friends recommended this to me. He absolutely loves it, so it will be interesting to say the least. I wanted to do like a series where I talk about the books and their adaptations, and obviously this could be one that I talk about. So yeah, I do want to read this. I do remember like when my friend was talking to me about it, I do remember thinking like, yeah, I do want to read that. And like I said, I want to read more books that are out of my comfort zone this year. And then next up we have The Favour by Susan Wright, I believe. I could be completely wrong. I'm purely just going off of memory. Oh my gosh. I may have miscounted because I've written Reckless twice. So this might actually be 25 books, but do you know what? It's fine because obviously I had my 3 honorary reads anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, The Favour, I saw Larry Reeves talk about this a long time ago. It's been on my list ever since. I still haven't read it. So again, I just need to get to it. And then next we have When in Rome. I really want to read In Your Dreams. I don't know what it is, but this book is calling to me. But it is the 4th book, I believe, in the series, 3rd or 4th. So I need to, get reading the other books first. I've read The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I did quite enjoy it, but it wasn't my absolute favourite, but I wanted to read more Sarah Adams. And then next up we have Virgin River. This is another book that I will likely include in that like books and their adaptations series when I eventually get around to it. I wanted to read this last year, but I didn't. Simple as, along with many books for many of us, I'm sure. I haven't finished the TV show, but I have really been enjoying it. Virgin River is something I'll sit down, I'll watch quite a few episodes in one go, and then I won't really watch any for a while. But I think a new season has recently-ish come onto Netflix, so I definitely do want to finish the series. That is something that I want to read this year, and this I believe is on Kindle Unlimited. So, I might as well. And then we've got 2 books left, and for one of those books, again I'm doing the I could read this or this by the same author, and that is Done and Dusted or Soul Searching, both by Lila Sage. I'm leaning towards Soul Searching right now, but I'm also like, I have just come out of when I think it would be best to read that, like atmosphere wise, because I believe it's like a full autumn Halloween-y sort of vibe. I could be wrong, but I'm feeling more called to this than Done and Dusted. But I actually have Done and Dusted, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I could read it now. I follow the author on like social media, and I see her videos and I'm always just like, I just need to hurry up and read one of her books. And I love a cowboy romance, so there's no reason why I wouldn't like Done and Dusted. But I do remember starting it, I think last year, and I literally got about 7 pages in, so yeah. But I feel like most of the time when that happens, it's kind of just like a right book, wrong time situation. And that's another reason why like I do want to pick up Book Lovers again, because again it could just be a right book, wrong time situation. And I feel like that is probably the case. And it would be nice to read some like cowboy small town romances that aren't by Elsie Silver, because as much as I love Elsie Silver, obviously I don't just want to read the same authors all the time. I do want to read new authors too. And there is one other series that like is kind of included in this, but I didn't put it in like the TBR or the honorary reads, and I don't remember what the series is called, but the first book, I'll put a picture of it, is Holding the Reins. I believe that's the first book. I would also like to read that this year, but again, will I get round to it is a different question. I do just want to just like find new favourite authors and new stories and new voices and all of that stuff. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about is another new author. When I say new author, by the way, I am specifically meaning new to me authors, and that is Wild Dark Shore. Hello, so as you can see, I'm wearing a different outfit and I feel like the lighting is definitely different to how it was yesterday, but my camera died and I had no other batteries that were charged, and so I've had to finish filming quite abruptly and carry on today, which was really annoying because I only had 2 books left to talk about. Wild Dark Shore is another book that I'm very excited to read this year, and this one is quite a new addition to my TBR. I heard about this again through Rach, Soph and George because they read it for their book club recently, and so I added it to my TBR. I'm very excited for this. It is set on an island, and I was already a little bit intrigued, and then I watched Send Help in cinema last week, and that is also set on an island for some of it. And whilst I believe the circumstances are quite different in why they're on the island, I enjoyed kind of just like staying on the island and being on the island and living on the island. And like I said, the circumstances from what I know are very different, but there is, I think, just like a mystery bit to both books, and so I am excited to read that. And then the other book that I believe I accidentally skipped over and will be the last book that I'm talking about today was Unsteady by Peyton Corinne, I think it is. So this has been on my like want to read for quite a long time now. There has been quite a few times where I've nearly picked it up, but I just didn't. I am looking forward to reading this, and the 3rd book in this series has recently come out. I believe it's like just come out or it's about to come out. I am intrigued to read these. They're not like massively high on my list, but I would like to read the 1st book in this series this year. So yeah, those are the books that I'm planning on reading for my 2026 TBR. This is the pile that is on my physical TBR. Oh my god, for the year. Okay, let's try this again. We're actually -1 right now because I'm currently reading Warrior Princess Assassin, and that is over there, but I can't get up to get it right now, so it's gonna stay over there. It's really annoying actually, because it would have been nice to have that in the thumbnail. So yeah, these are the physical books I'd like to read this year, plus also these 2, which I will hopefully read this year as well. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have enjoyed yapping about these books that I'm excited to read this year. Hopefully I will read all 26 of these by the end of the year. I so far have knocked out 2 and I'm currently reading 2 others, so hopefully within the next week or so I would have already read 4 off of this list, and then quite a few of these are like books that I'm planning on reading soonish, and then some of them are ones that hopefully by the end of the year, like I said, I will get around to. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like it if you did, and subscribe if you are interested in seeing how many of these I actually read throughout this year, and then see my thoughts on them. And then hopefully at the end of the year I will do another tier ranking my reads of the year, and you'll get to see what of these I read and what I would rank them. I posted my tier ranking for the books I read in 2025 literally a few days ago now. I had a lot of fun filming that, and I'm excited to film another one. I was thinking like I want to film another one already, but I don't know what to tier rank because I don't know, I haven't really got anything else to tier rank right now. But I am looking forward. I feel like I'm gonna pick this up soonish because it doesn't look that small of a book, but I think it is a shorter book. Okay, it is 300 pages, but it looks smaller than that, and I think it'll be a good like palette cleanser, a good just like pick it up and read it quickly book. So yeah, I will see you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you when I see ya.